Welcome to Under the Fig Tree podcast. In today's episode, hosts Reverend Micah Glenn and Reverend Dr. Ben Haupt talk theology and life as they meditate under the fig tree.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Under the Fig Tree podcast. I am your host, Reverend Micah Glenn, Director of Recruitment here at Concordia Seminary in St. Louis, joined by highly esteemed co-host, Mrs. Kati Gaschler.
I'm sorry, there's like some weird plumbing sounds coming through or something. Did you hear that?
Somebody's sitting in my seat.
Oh my gosh.
And
now it's talking to us.
We have a guest.
A guest?
Former co-host. But extremely distinguished Reverend Dr. Benjamin D. Haupt.
Here I sit.
How are
I
you,
can
bro?
do no other. I can't.
Why? Because of your knees or something?
I'm not allowed to sit in my own chair.
What?
Viewers, listeners, can you believe this?
Oh.
Here I am over on the couch of shame.
Couch of
Is that what that
shame.
has been this whole time?
It is now.
What an episode
Yeah.
to have current host and former co-host all together. We did an episode together when Kati first joined our team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And which
I was
feels-
on the couch of shame.
that's right.
Yeah. To be fair, whenever Ben and I record an episode together, I willfully choose to sit on the couch of shame so that we get a good shot of the studio when we're recording. It's a mighty sacrifice, but somebody's got to do it.
Sure.
I think a couple times we moved the couch and moved my chair there, but that just
Yeah.
is work.
Yeah, that's right. You would sit over here sometimes if it was just the two of us.
Right. Yeah.
I have never, ever sat in any other spot, not even for 10 seconds. I don't even think I have tried to sit on this couch.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's a much different feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I sit there, I do feel like a guest. I'm not going to lie. Well,
It's a huge honor, though, to be a guest on the podcast.
yeah. So how's everybody doing in life?
Welcome to the most chaotic episode ever.
It is summer is started, so we've had a call day, we've had graduation, class. Nothing's in session right now.
Except for construction. There is a lot of construction in session. There's
That's true.
work being done on the roof. I just walked through work being done on the classrooms.
Yep.
Summer is always lots of construction going on.
That's interesting. Well, because I imagine next week courses resume.
Right. So, yeah, summer break
Yeah.
is just a very short amount of time.
Vocatio is just around the corner from when you will be listening to this. I used to say find the registration online, but registration is full. There is a waiting list, but also registration is closed, so you can't be added to the waiting list this year anyway. So if you miss it this year, it happens every summer. It'll happen again next summer, and I'm sure it'll be bigger and better than ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where well, let's get to don't click off the episode. We'll just get right to the point first. Ben has big news.
Big news. Yeah, I do have big news. So, listeners, viewers, it's been such a privilege and pleasure to kind of be a founding member of this podcast and to serve Concordia Seminary for the last 11 years. I spent 6 years working on the library building and leading the library staff, and that was a ton of fun. I'm still very, very honored, and though we're not supposed to be, I can't help the temptation of feeling a little proud when I walk into the library. It's just
It's an incredible space.
I like to be in there.
Yep.
And even more, I love it when I see students in there just either studying or hanging out or doing a little bit of both. A lot of students study shoulder to shoulder. They love to be close to each other, and they all have their AirPods in, and they're just studying away. It's awesome. So that was 6 years, and the last 5 was leading the enrollment team and working on turnaround. But that work that the Lord called me to has come to an end, and I have taken a position with PLI, Pastoral Leadership Institute, that really desires to invest in, shape, mold, train, form missionary leaders, pastors, spouses, and congregational members to really be about the mission of Jesus. And so, yeah, it's kind of, it's in some ways it's a continuing education arm. So I've been teaching pastoral leadership here at the seminary, and with PLI, I will continue a lot of that same work, kind of same topic, same passion of teaching leaders, and we'll just be doing that for seminary graduates and people that are in our congregations rather than working with budding future pastors.
I had never heard of PLI before, or maybe I had, but I forgot.
Sure.
So you kind of touched on what it is, but like, I guess more of like the meat of like, what does it look like? What do they do?
Yeah. So they started in 1999. There was a group of pastors that got together and said, hey, there's a unique skill set among large churches for like senior leadership, executive level leadership. So leading a team, really leading kind of the visioning process, and leading from the pulpit, but being kind of the main preacher and keeping the attention of hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 people. That's a unique skill set, and it's not something that the seminary is necessarily equipped to like create senior pastors straight out of graduation. So these pastors gathered together and said, let's train the next generation to take up the mantle of our leadership in these large congregations. So they raised up a first crowd of pastors to go through. It was 4 years long, very much kind of modeled off of a lot of stuff that happened at the seminary as far as how teaching happened. A lot of in-person stuff. They would, kind of like our D-Min classes, come in for a week or so and do like really intensive teaching, and then pastors would go back to their congregations and do a bunch of reading. And it has morphed over the years. So PLI used to just be kind of for the mega church or large church crowd. Now PLI really exists to raise up leaders in the local congregations. One of the special distinctions of PLI is from the very beginning, they really encouraged pastor and wife to go through the learning together. So they had breakout sessions for wives, and it wasn't forbidden to enter PLI without your wife, but it was highly, highly encouraged. And there were significant questions that you would kind of have to go through if you were going to say, I'm going to do this, but my wife isn't. So PLI has really been a champion for pastors' wives and has done tons of education for what does it mean to be a pastor's wife? How do you navigate all the different expectations? And how do you walk alongside your husband as you're leading change or trying to establish a new culture? So over the years, it's become much more of a diversified group of congregations that we work with, small congregations, large congregations, medium congregations. One of the big emphases recently over the last 5 or 6 years, or maybe 10 years, that Jock and Gail Ficken have been leading is helping churches to go from church being just a place where members come to attend and to primarily receive passively. And it's not to say we don't receive God's grace and justification passively. We still do, and that's the only way to be saved, just to be clear. But how people grow in the faith, we've gone from just one person kind of lecturing to creating this discipling culture where members start to invite members, and not just invite them to church, but invite them into conversations, invite them into what does it mean to be a Christian in the day-to-day. And so there's a lot of emphasis on disciple making and walking with people through stages of life that is incorporated into a lot of leadership stuff.
Okay. Well, that was a longer answer than I expected.
It's kind of always the case with me. Sorry.
No, that was good. That explained it. And then what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I don't know. I don't know yet in some respects. I mean, so they do all these different kinds of teachings, and it's both nationally and internationally. So we have learning cohorts that will gather for a very short amount of time and then do some online learning, or more fully in person in the international setting. So all of that's going on. Really, my job will be to continue to help us coordinate efforts, do fundraising. I'll be doing a lot of fundraising, a lot of casting vision, listening to the church and finding out what are things that congregations are struggling with that PLI might be able to help. So we've developed trainings over the years because congregations have said, hey, we need to grow in this area. We want to develop this specific kind of skill, but we don't know where to go to get that training. And so we'll be doing a lot more of that. So I'll be doing a lot of the kind of executive level stuff, leading a staff. They have a core team of 5 or 6 people, and then a whole array of part-time folks that are, everybody's remote, everybody's deployed. So leading a remote team where everybody works from their home, that'll be an interesting experience. Try to find ways to foster community, and we've enjoyed going out for sushi or other food if you are on the team and you don't like sushi.
Does anybody not like sushi?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so.
Yeah.
I'm closer to indifferent.
Oh.
Then I mean it's fine.
Yeah,
This is a huge.
I'm actually
this
the
is a
same.
huge-
It's okay.
To be honest with you.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You don't like
Sushi's-
sushi?
I like sushi. It's but like
It will never be
it's
my
not,
first
It's not a
pick.
top choice for me.
Oh well, that's why sometimes you didn't come.
I mean, more times than not, it was because it got scheduled when I was off working on behalf of the team.
You were working and you were out playing.
But yeah, sushi is fine. Yeah, it's not bad. But I wouldn't put it towards the top of my sought out food list. Yeah.
I feel like I didn't accomplish as much in my time here as I thought.
Yeah.
Create sushi lovers. and all
Right,
that.
right.
No, again, sushi is good. It's a nice, clean. This is the thing. This is what I appreciate about sushi for lunch, especially a team lunch. In an all-you-can-eat sushi place, you can go, you can eat as much sushi as you want, and you come back and you're ready to work, and you're not sluggish for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some meals you can go out for lunch, and you start to get
And
the
then
itis afterwards.
you need a
Right.
nap.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think sushi is a very productive work lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved the culture that we built on the team where we just laughed and had tons of fun. And I told the team at PLI that is definitely something that I want to work on because I will miss our team.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're not going to get all like, weepy, and I don't see any Kleenex, so we're not gonna cry or do any of that kind of stuff.
He says as he holds back tears.
All right.
Well, I think it's your turn now.
Right.
So yeah, you have some news too.
So I also my work at Concordia Seminary is coming to an end. I've recently accepted a call to be the head of school at Sierra Lutheran High School in Carson City, Nevada. And so I'll finish out the month of June, ending with vocatio. And quite literally the next day, Dorothy, Johnny, Tally, and Day and Scruffy, we will get in one of our cars and begin to drive out there. Yeah.
This is gonna be this is the next episode will be what's up. Welcome back to the Kati Gaschler podcast.
Exactly.
Well, now's not the time to tell the bad news. Then I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving.
We're gonna see something fall down, and it's just gonna be Katie's face.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, very much like you. I remember well now it's a little over 4 years now. When I began my work here, I guess the call process started a while before that. But yeah, man, like the time, it's weird because on the one hand, time flies, but it also feels like in the best way that I've been living and working here forever. Like I started literally the Friday of my first week. You came back a day after you left for vacation, and we closed for COVID.
Yeah. That was awful.
And then we did a lot of strategizing and reimagining things, and then we started Under the Fig Tree, which was
during the pandemic.
Yeah, no, we used to record on Zoom.
Yeah,
from our respectful houses.
Did we start in 20 or 21?
It might have been the fall of 2020. I think that's right.
Wow.
And I don't know if we have ever told our listeners this, but we re-recorded the first episode because it was bad.
It was so bad.
Oh,
so bad.
we should dig that out.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
we ran it past our consultant. Thanks, John Christopher.
Right.
And he was basically like, you might. He was so nice about it, but kind of like, you might give that another go.
Yeah. Well, and if like you can still hear it on the early episodes, we had like that really gimmicky intro.
Oh yeah. Barbecue.
Right. When the podcast was like, it wasn't radically different, but the format was different. It wasn't long format. We were much more structured as far as segments go and exactly what we wanted to talk about.
We didn't have Ripe for the Pickin'.
No.
Back in the day.
No, that started in studio.
Yeah.
Whose idea was that? Where did that come from?
Micah's.
And what was the very first thing you asked about?
It might have been pineapple on pizza.
What?
It might have been.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. It might have been the very first one.
Conversation.
I can't pretend. Like I have a different podcast that I listen to that I won't mention, but they have a segment. I mean, I think a lot of podcasts do that type of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where like they ask their guest really subjective things. You like this or you don't like it, and whatever fits the podcast. And that's where I got the idea from it, just to give it a different level.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I like to think that most people listen to this podcast because they are aspiring theologians and church workers, but I think a lot of people listen to this podcast for Right for the Pickin' or Leave It Under the Tree.
I think so. What I've found out in the world is that there are people who want to help the church identify potential leaders and church workers, and so they listen to the podcast to hear people's stories, for their own personal edification, so that they can say, I think this person would be a good, and so they listen for those types of things,
and then maybe pass it on to a young person and say, hey, you got to listen to this.
So it's one of these things where like I stop and think about it, and we don't have to go into the numbers, but I am incredibly blown away that there are so many people who tune in to listen to a seminary's recruiting podcast.
Well, and I've been so blown away by the individual interactions with
emails,
listeners and viewers that have stopped me on campus or heard my voice and were like, wait a minute, I know that voice. They're just listeners, and they never knew that this face matched this voice. But yeah, there's the viewers and listeners of this podcast are loyal and very, very in tune, and it's been a ton of fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where, again, we started it. It was all audio. We made the decision to have both audio and a YouTube page.
Which I think is a great decision because our viewership, I get the numbers every week or every month, but it's about half and half.
Which again, another humbling fact is that when we started the YouTube page, it quickly dominated we didn't lose the old audience, but the growth on YouTube was faster than the audio growth. But now the audio is caught up. And so again, there are millions of podcasts that exist. There's some statistic that every day, like a few thousand new podcasts started every day, and the success rate of a podcast is minimal. Right. And the fact that anybody listens to this podcast is a blessing. Yeah. So we have an incredible audience.
So let's talk a little bit about what is the future of Under the Fig Tree. We've kind of joked about it, but Katie, we're looking at you.
Thanks.
Since you're going to be here sitting in my chair. It's just right. And somebody's sitting in my chair, but it's you. And
but you're over it.
I'm working on it.
You're completely over it.
Yeah, right.
I wouldn't say I have no idea what the future is because we've been talking about it. Some of our other team members throwing ideas out, and we have 2 other podcasts on campus. We can always, talk to Jessica Bordelot for ideas and things like that. I think it needs to continue. I don't think stopping it is on the table, but I just don't know.
Figuring out still where it goes.
Yeah. Come up with a new intro.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know. I think she can pull off the
what's up.
There you go.
That was perfect. Just clip that, put it at the front end of the podcast. Well, it's one of these things where again, and so we've done the podcast now for a few years together. Yep. Amongst like other things that we worked out. I was just thinking about this the other day, and for sure, like when you lose 2 people from the same department, there's always this process for the institution. But as you step back, like 2 people from our department are going off to lead 2 different things. And I think CSL should be proud of the leadership that is fostered.
Yeah. And the team that remains is
it's
very, very exciting. I've had to think back to Guardians 3. Where a couple of the team members go off and are leaving the team, and yet the Guardians of the Galaxy, they remain, and they're just fine without Peter
Quill.
Oh yes, how could I forget? How could I?
Yeah,
forget
we're
Peter's
related.
last name? Yeah, exactly. So the enrollment team. Have you picked a new name? Because we were the dream team, and then we lost a couple of people and brought a couple of new people on, so we changed our name to the Avengers. Yeah. Avengers Assemble, right?
And we're currently the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, you are the Guardians.
Yeah.
Of the Galaxy.
No. Once you went on sabbatical, I was like, all right, new chat. It's going to be called the Guardians.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I stopped getting texts, and you guys had told me that was going to happen, but I will admit I kind of appreciate it. There would be times where I would get 20 or 30 texts. When I wake up in the morning.
Well, yeah, and then you would let us know how many you missed.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, today, Jesse was you, and he let us know how many he missed. And it was like 47 or something like that.
Monica threw out the potential name, Survivors of the Blip.
Yikes.
To stay on the Marvel theme.
Yikes.
That's not bad.
Well, anyway.
So Micah, you're going out to be head of school in Reno, Nevada.
Well, Carson City.
Carson City. So working with high school students, any thoughts on starting a podcast out there?
So that's interesting because I don't know what the process has been for you. You and I meet not as frequently as we did before you were on sabbatical, but we meet all the time. Long story short, you go through the process of, now I have this call, accepting it, and all these other things. Well, anyway, and then not only from the team, like, can you write down a book of things that you do so that We can prioritize things, but you start to think about the things you do. Long story short, I'll miss Under the Fig Tree.
Yeah.
Like the fact that part of my job is recording a podcast is pretty cool. So Dorothy I was talking about that to Dorothy, and she was like, well, why don't you start a podcast for high schoolers out in,
There you go.
and let them ask questions. We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
I haven't committed to anything yet. I mean, the reality is that, so going out to lead the high school, again, a lot of the administrative kind of executive responsibilities, I've had, as director of recruitment, and especially in your sabbatical over the last few months. And so, but there are particular things about leading a high school, that I'll need to learn. I've reached out to different people for mentorship and, hey, when I have a thing, can I call you and ask you questions? And began to look at continuing ed and different conferences and things like that to learn. Long story short, but then, so there's like the job part of it, but then there's also like the community part of it, and just getting to know the school, the kind of the supporters, the faculty and staff, the students and the families, and just pouring myself into getting to know Sierra Lutheran well in the first year.
Yeah.
And then go from there. But it's one of these things where I've always asked, because, you know, traditionally guys come to school here and almost exclusively people receive calls to congregations. And if they're not to congregations very often, it's like to be a missionary.
Yeah.
And I started off in Ferguson, then Lutheran Hour, then came here. And I had really resolved myself to this kind of bigger institutional ministry place. If that's where God wants me to be, so be it. And then this opportunity came, and one of the greatest joys of my work as a director of recruitment, we've broadened our activity for recruiting quite a bit. And so a lot, I get to visit and meet with high schoolers in their place, and then Vocatio, having that program and meeting so many wonderful and incredibly talented young people from the country. I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast. You know, when I first was going to leave high school and go to college, I was going to be at LTE. I was going to be a math and science teacher. I love
Define LTE.
Lutheran Teacher Education is the degree, right? I started tutoring classmates in math and science in high school, and I just love teaching and being around. And here we are at this institution. It's just education is just so incredible, especially in a society that's pushing against education these days. What are we setting our kids up for? I'm not saying everybody has to go to college, but man, don't say education is bad.
Right.
But the point being that the opportunity, and I'll head of school, there's the odd chance every once in a while I'll teach a course, right, while I'm there, if things work out. But to be able to help and be a significant part of the formation of young people as they set off into the real world and grow into young adults is it's an honor and a privilege. And the fact that this school kind of saw me from afar and picked me to be their guy, and were very insistent about it, is pretty cool. And so people have always kind of poked interest, which I'm sure you're well aware of. Like, are you interested in this? And I used to have this spiel of, if you go through, and it's not a spiel. Like, I tell everybody honestly, if you go through the process of extending me a call, I'll prayerfully consider it. Yeah. But I was like, I'm very involved in my work at the seminary, and so it would have to be something that clearly and is set before me, and that I should, if I were to consider it. And when this came, you know, when you go through the process of talking, then you do the interviews, and then the calls come, and then Dorothy and I are like, oh, okay, so now let's sit down and pray and talk about what it means to stay at CSL or to go out there. What does it mean for the kids? What does it mean for us? And so, yeah, it'll be a big change. And this all came out of you're asking me about a podcast, but the whole point is, like, if there's another Micah Glenn podcast of any sort, just understand that it'll have to be in order of priority of other things that I need to figure out in the process. But it's not. This is such a joy. Like
Yeah, I know.
when we first started it, when we were learning how to podcast, it was joyful, but it was also a task.
Yeah.
And there's still a task associated with it, but like,
yeah, it just became a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun to be a part of.
And like there would be like weeks, well, we can say it now, where like when we didn't have a guest, we didn't have much to talk about, we were like, okay, well, but we need an episode, and so we just sit down and start talking, just like today. And before you know it, not only are you having a great time, but you're actually talking about the things that the podcast exists for, church life, church work. What does a career in church work look like for people? What does a new call mean? Even if you're staying in town, what does it mean if you're like for your kids, if you're moving them literally across the country and to a place that they've never been before? I mean, David, so Talitha was born in Alabama, but we moved from Alabama when she was a month old, and she's never lived anywhere else. David is born here, never lived anywhere else in 7.5 years.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, so by the time I was 7, I had been born in Hawaii, moved to South Carolina, and moved back to Hawaii. and so, there's so many things that go into it. But that's just the way the church is, and that's the way God has chosen to design and to execute the church in the world, that you never know when a call is going to come and when the Spirit's going to begin to move. But when it arrives, you got to start thinking about what it means.
As you were talking about calls, and because I know the backstory of your call, I can talk just a little bit about it, and I certainly know the backstory of mine. There's a saying in the Lutheran Church that the person, or the man in the pastoral office, the person does not seek the call seeks them. And that truly was the case for both of us. It was like out of the blue, somebody was like, we weren't like putting out applications to dozens of places. Neither of us were looking to leave or just trying to get out. Concordia Seminary is both of our alma maters, and we poured our blood, sweat, and tears into this team, and we just had tons and tons and tons of fun doing that. But then out of the blue, these people that knew us from other circles and such tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, we think that you should put your application in for this. And even that, it's a little bit like, should I? And I don't know. And and then even going through the interview process, it's like, I'm sure that I'm not their person. I'm sure that, and then you find out who some of the other candidates are, and you're like, oh, well, I'm for sure not their person because, look who else they're talking to.
Yeah.
And then kind of out of the blue, it's like, oh, wow, I actually have to really stop and think and pray. And that's the way oftentimes that God works in the life of the believer, is through unforeseen circumstances. And sometimes people pray and they need a new place or whatever, but a lot of times things just kind of come out of the blue and kind of take you by surprise. And that was definitely the case for both of us.
Well, I can't personally relate.
Yeah.
But my husband can.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I actually thought maybe that you could relate, because all of a sudden you find out that there's this position open at Concordia Seminary, and it's like, so you put your application in, but
So I really only applied when I did, because we were trying to get a mortgage.
Oh, there you go. Oh. Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to work at the seminary, and so I looked at the jobs, and I think this one was available, and then campus store manager was available. And I was like, hospitality and stuff, well, I can do that. I'll see if I get that, because we really need a mortgage. I need source of an income.
I'm so glad that you didn't go to the campus store. Nothing against our campus store colleagues, but Yeah. You make a great team member. You fit into our culture very, very well.
I'm very, very happy to be here. Yeah.
So I did wear I got a new pair of socks.
Are those new?
We talk a lot about,
Another pair.
These are new.
You have more than one pair of Bitcoin socks.
I do have more than
Oh, they
one
are
pair
Bitcoin.
of Bitcoin
That is,
socks.
that's
this
good.
This is the Bitcoin, the B with the
some kind of sports team or something.
Ben would never wear anything related to sports.
No,
that's true. And I was like,
Baltimore or the.
I thought not just B for baseball, but I thought some baseball.
No, these are out and out Bitcoin socks, and I've talked a little bit about Bitcoin on this podcast, but I have started a new podcast.
All right.
It's called the Bitcoin Reformation Podcast with my friends David Ruffner, who works for 1517.
Right.
Was a pastor for a number of years. He and I are classmates from high school and not really college. He went to that other Concordia in Chicago. That
I've heard of it. Yeah.
And then a recent graduate here from CSL, Jared Townley. So I found out that these two guys were also Bitcoiners and were in some ways even deeper into the mining and some of the technical stuff than I am. And so we started this podcast, Bitcoin Reformation Podcast, that's all about Bitcoin and also about theology and how Bitcoin is introducing some new things into our 21st century, the way the Reformation brought a lot of change into the world, socially, culturally, and even theologically. And there's some really interesting things theologically about Bitcoin. So we're having some fun with it, and it's a very different feel. We don't have a ripe for the picking, so right. we probably still need to develop some of that. But as we know, starting a podcast, you kind of just get going, and then you kind of develop your voice and your culture. So, yeah,
that's good stuff. Yeah, it's just like one of those things where like, somebody was asking me about like what's next and all these other things and what I'm interested in. And it's like, well, I took a leave of absence from grad school, but I'll start back up in the fall. And even during the leave of absence, still reading, still doing research. And so, my life still revolves heavily around third article theology or things to deal with the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
And in particular, spiritual gifts and all these different ways of thinking about them. And it was, you read some things, right? And you read a book, and then you get to the end of the book. It's like, that was informative. I don't know if it helps my dissertation, but it will certainly go into the bibliography.
Right. And it'll stay on my shelf to show that I read this book.
Exactly. Like, I read this entire book, and actually, like, just this one little nugget of perspective is might be key. It might fall out of the text, but I've read it. I just spent months reading like a kind of like the holiness movement, Pentecostal history, especially like late 19th century and their side of this.
Yeah.
Some of it's interesting. I mean, of course, I would say that they've misunderstood some biblical realities and truths and just the text in general. But
yeah, I mean, if you look at the holiness and the Pentecostal movement through just like raw theological, like we're just looking at the doctrines and the teachings.
Yeah,
it's very easy to just start kind of poking at it. But what I think is fascinating is, as we know, a church is always a belief in doctrine is always bound up in how people live, where they live, how they think, the kinds of educations that they've had. And the holiness and Pentecostal movement really is bound up in the experience of the Black church.
Yep.
And among also really took off among like working class and people who weren't coming from like a highly educated Western or a Western European context, and yet they there are some beautiful things about the holiness and Pentecostal movements in how they think about the Trinity. They, in some ways, were reacting against some of the Western European congregations, and history is fascinating. If you can get into it and not just immediately want to throw stones, but rather try to understand what's going on and why. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm so fascinated about with the Pentecostal movement that still continues to this day is why are they growing like crazy, and why are other church bodies not growing or rapidly declining? And that doesn't mean that we immediately just go and do whatever the growing church body is doing, but it is really fascinating to understand human beings, to understand cultures, to understand our current ways of living, and to try to understand what does this mean for how we are going to do church, to be church, to listen to the Word of God.
Well, and even just like, I'm in the doctrinal department, so I am looking at it through a doctrinal lens. But that being said, it is one of these things where like the issues in and around the Pentecostal movement and the holiness movement, and I didn't know that Pentecostalism came out of the holiness movement and from Methodism and John Wesley, and that's how it all kind of sprung out. That kind of caught me off guard. I just never had a reason to really know before. I just know that they exist and what they believe kind of generally, right? But that being said, a lot of the issues in and around Pentecostal and charismatic theology is not new. It's been around for a very long time, and it's interesting to see the development of the conversation.
Well, and if you follow some of those streams back, so back from Pentecostalism, further back to the holiness movement, back to Wesleyanism, Methodism, you eventually get back to Luther, because Wesley is reading Luther.
Right.
And I don't know if there are a lot of Pentecostal theologians that begin to read Luther. I don't know enough about Pentecostalism, but the other movement that Pentecostalism is related to is Pietism.
Right.
And there were a ton of Pietists that loved Luther, and may not have loved or been loved by Lutherans, Orthodox Lutherans, but they were still reading Luther and had a pretty deep appreciation for the Lutheran Reformation. I read recently Cotton Mather's The Wonders of the Invisible World. I don't know why I got reading it, but Cotton Mather was this early American preacher, and he has tons of great things to say about Martin Luther.
Sure.
And the Lutheran Reformation. And we do well to listen to how other people read Luther and to understand how they're processing. I think that could be a way to have some significant conversation with other streams of Christianity that still may have some profound respect for Brother Luther.
Yeah. Well, to put everybody at rest, I'm not a Pentecostal or a charismatic.
Oh.
Yeah. Or a part of the holiness movement, and I'm not a pietist either. But I think there is something to say that we could, I don't want to say rethink how we have a conversation with them, but at least either continue the conversation or rethink the way we have dialogues with them. Yeah. Because, even in these short amount of time, like if you look up throughout the history, the early 19th century, beginning of the 20th century and beyond, like those were the early days, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Just same thing within the Lutheran Reformation, right? Anytime you have big change like that, a lot of conversations, a lot of people vying for authority and influence and things like that. And so even within that, I'm not saying that they've radically changed their stances, but they're doctrinal formation. I don't even think that they would quite call it that, but their doctrinal formation has changed and their ideas have begun to change. But it is like you said, the people that they reached, others either weren't trying to or weren't successful at.
Yeah.
And so what about those early movements were really appealing? And I'm not so convinced it's just the sensationalism of it. You know what I mean?
No, right,
that's
exactly.
surely a part of it,
Yeah.
of the identity and the significance, but it's not that alone. Okay. But that won't be what if I start a podcast, it won't be on this.
The Holiness Pentecostal
No.
movement from a Lutheran perspective.
No. Well, I mean, mostly just because, again, I'm approaching it from an academic standpoint. Listen, the more and more you get into it, you realize, I'm not writing for the world.
Right. You're writing for your dissertation supervisor. That's all.
Yeah.
Because he's the only person, he's the only person that's going to read your work.
Right, exactly. And once I'm done with this, it'll be put on a shelf in the library, never to be touched again, which is probably where it belongs.
I think I've received one email one time from somebody that read my dissertation.
Sure.
And was like, hey, I actually have a question. And I answered it. But dissertations are more for you than they are for changing the shaping the knowledge of the world. No. That's probably not until your second or third book.
Yep.
So,
but yeah.
So I've been wondering. I mean, I'm a big fan of Intersect Arts Center here in St. Louis. It's a great place, great folks that are there. You're kind of connected to that. What is, by the way, what's Intersect Arts Center?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll talk about the bag first. So Intersect Arts Center is attached to my church, Holy Cross. And I still don't even really know the right way to talk about it. Like, it is a separate entity, but it's attached to the church, but it is a secular institution in that
Is it its own 501c3 nonprofit?
I have no idea.
Maybe.
It
is.
must
I can
be.
tell you that it is. Yeah.
Oh, you know more about it than I do.
Well,
Good.
only because serving on the board of the Lutheran Foundation in St. Louis, Intersect Art was
Sure. Okay.
Micah
a
gave them
grantee.
money.
Oh, I didn't give them money. I voted yes
Well,
for the foundation to give them money. But anyway.
but if you're ever in St. Louis, come see some art. There's always an exhibit or something going on.
Well, it's
but,
also the original Concordia Seminary.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not the original. The second
Right.
Concordia Seminary.
Yep.
We're the third.
Yep. Yeah. So we have the church is obviously still standing, and then we have two buildings. One is being rented by a school, and then one is Intersect. And then we supposedly have a tree that was brought over from Germany.
Huh.
They can't confirm it, but
It's a good
that's
story.
the story, and it's enormous. It's like 10 feet. Like the trunk is like 10 feet. It's huge.
Is it a fig tree?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
But I have something in this bag.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a gift.
It is a gift.
Oh, okay.
It's for Micah.
What is it?
It's gross.
It's a Domino's pizza?
It is a Domino's
It's going to be a
pizza.
Hawaiian pizza.
What?
I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Oh, yeah. There is pineapple on there.
Oh, and I see it. Vegan cheese.
There is vegan cheese on here.
Yes.
And it's with a gluten-free crust.
Yes.
Why have you done this?
I'm pretty sure the people at Domino's judged me
Yeah, rightfully.
because I had to get it with no
It's
cheese.
not even melted.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't. But
You think
the good thing is I got garlic sauce to make it better.
and somehow in your mind you imagined this happening and I'm going to eat a slice?
Yeah.
Or even take
There's
a bite?
no imagining.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
She's the host of the podcast, and
Yeah.
the guests have to
This is
try it.
probably
Is this a waking nightmare
This
for you?
was the mukbang that you always wanted to have.
This is perhaps the worst thing you've ever done in your life.
All right, dig in. Is it cut?
Yeah,
Okay. I'll take
we're
a piece.
we're gonna
with
make a
vegan cheese.
mess.
That's great.
it's fine. We'll get someone to clean that up. Name that TV show that I just quoted.
is like Double Dare?
No, it's The Office.
Oh. Double Dare was a good answer, though, man. Katie doesn't even know what Double Dare is.
No. You have to take a piece with the cheese.
With the cheese?
Yeah.
Was Double Dare the one where they poured
slime
on people's head?
Yeah.
That was such a great show.
The cheese is just falling off. I did put the cheese on when it was hot.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And it didn't melt.
Micah did everything he could to shake the cheese off.
There's still some cheese on there.
So,
Yeah.
so tell us about this pizza. If people are listening, what are you seeing?
So
it's gluten-free
Yeah.
crust.
It's gluten-free crust
it's a
because
little
I don't eat gluten.
right? And it's vegan cheese is
Not real.
Doesn't usually melt very well.
It doesn't exist.
So it exists. It's the only cheese that I ever have on my pizza.
I am incredibly sad right now. Because the thing is this, is like, you could be like, oh, I'm setting myself up not to like it.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not going to like it.
Maybe you'll take a bite and your mind will be changed
It won't be.
because the gluten-free crust is so good.
Right.
And
Right.
the
And the
cheese
vegan
is
cheese
really
is so
also good.
And then when you put that together with the finely canned pineapple slices that are on this,
But we do have garlic
And
sauce
the-
to make it a little
I don't
better.
want
And the
it.
ham.
I'm zero interest in that.
yeah, I'm gonna pass on that too because it's bound to have butter in it.
Yeah.
And so it's the sensitivities of
Alright.
the. All right,
I'm going to
here's to the.
take a little more vegan cheese just so I can
I
say
actually
I've
don't
done
think
it.
there's any butter in here.
Oh, okay.
I'm only going
That's even worse.
like this. I'm only taking a single bite out of
There's
Cottonseed oil.
this. And so then I'll
All right.
put the piece of ham there.
Down the hatch.
Oh, for goodness sakes. What
The-
are we doing?
The leave it on the tree.
Yep.
Right away. That is vile. It's so gross. Like, I could. Ew. Okay, let me just finish this.
Oh, it is so bad.
It's disgusting. It's very bad.
I don't think my bite had pineapple in it.
It's so awful. I could taste the pineapple before I bit into it. The trauma. I'm having PTSD right now.
It's fine.
It's not. It's not.
It's the cheese that's offensive. I'm so
No,
sorry.
The cheese is fine. I mean,
taste the cheese. That's so bad. Like,
yeah,
why have you done this?
the pineapple.
It's not good.
It was. Yeah, it was. I will admit that I knew that this was coming.
You conspired.
Oh yeah.
We did conspire.
For goodness sakes.
So I'm
Yep.
gonna be honest. This is not the worst vegan cheese I've ever tried.
No, vegan cheese is good.
I didn't know
fine.
this one time. So Dorothy's mom, I didn't know where she got this pizza from, but she got it from Seeds down here, which is a vegan restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And like I had a slice.
I
Seeds is
actually
awesome.
looked there to see if they would make this. They would not.
Oh yeah.
And it was like a pepperoni pizza, and I was like, "Oh, this is different," but
See-
it wasn't bad.
No.
Seeds was probably like, we have standards.
Yeah.
We're not going to stoop that low.
I found no place that made a gluten-free Hawaiian pizza, so I just had to get a gluten-free one with no cheese, and then I went to Deerberg's this
So-
morning and I bought the cheese.
Are you saying there's just no market for this kind of pizza?
I think people
Weird.
have just forsaken. Like people have listened to the podcast and they're like, you know what?
I will be honest.
I'll
when,
leave pineapple
when
on
the
pizza alone.
when the piece of I got a piece of pineapple in my only bite, and when it hit, it
It doesn't.
kind of turned my stomach.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It does. So, for fairness, not every single day, but I make myself fruit smoothies, and I always get the Aldi tropical blend that has like strawberries, pineapple, mango, and papaya. I'll do strawberry and pineapple. If I were to go to like a slushy place, it'd be like green apple, pineapple. I love pineapple flavored things. That is disgusting.
Yeah, like
But-
with tomato sauce.
With the
Ooh, like-
combination of it is so gross.
We've not built it up very well, but I don't want anybody to feel left out. So I think that we should also offer a piece to our producer.
Yeah.
Just in case he's shaking his head and
He's just being polite. He'll eat one later.
So here's the real question, right? Now that it's fresh on your palate, is this right for the picking?
Not this particular one, but I do still want to try pineapple with like spicy pepperoni. That sounds really good. Sweet and spicy. Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking that we need to add a third category. So there's ripe for the picking. There's leave it on the tree. And leave it on the tree is kind of, in my mind, it's kind of like, I don't mind it, but it's kind of not for me. I think there could be a third category called fling it to the fields.
Oh. See, in my mind, when you leave it on the tree, it overripes, it falls to the ground, it turns into the waste, and then
it
goes.
But
I think
but
you're overthinking it.
when I was growing up as a kid on the farm, we had there were tons of fruit trees at my grandmother's farm, and we'd go out and pick an apple or a cherry or whatever, and if you bit into it and there was like a worm, or if it was nasty, or if it was unripe, you wouldn't just like drop it to the ground. You would fling it as far as you could.
Did you ever have a spud gun?
No, I never had a spud gun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Shove it in the spud gun.
And
Right.
is not happy.
This might be fling it to the fields.
I get what you're saying, but it doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? It's right for the picking or leave it on the tree.
I don't know.
Well, that's Kate.
I thought fling it to the field
was
a good ring, but
that's Katie's choice now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
What a way to end an era in the most disgusting and vile way possible.
I appreciated it. It was a good throwback, and the way that you asked, what was the first ripe for the picking? And did you know that was the answer?
No.
I mean, that was perfect. A perfect setup, and Micah fell right into the trap, and I was like, "Oh, it's so good." I almost brought it up right when he said that.
I know.
I
well,
just had to let it go a little bit.
I think you would have liked the pizza better when it was hot, because it's kind of lukewarm now. So maybe
A, that's not lukewarm. It's cold.
It's cold. It is cold.
B, no. Warming it up is not redeeming it.
Like a dog that returns. Never mind. I'm not going to finish that sentence. But
Garlic sauce?
No.
I'm going to pick off the pineapple.
I'm legit.
And I'm going to try.
But the juice will still be in there. You can't get rid of the tank. And see, when you go to like a restaurant that does like sweet and sour chicken or teriyaki chicken, those chunks of pineapple that come in that, when they do that, that's also disgusting. It's vile.
Wait, no.
Yes.
Sweet and sour?
I like the sweet and sour flavor, but I'm talking about the chunk of pineapple in the sauce.
All right, now get out.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I stand on that business.
No, man, that's good.
No.
Sweet and sour chicken with either mangoes or pineapple. And
I don't like that.
And some green pepper. Oh yeah.
See, the vegetables were fine. Onions, green peppers, fine. The pineapple chunks.
It's fantastic. It goes very well.
I'm good.
Pineapple on pizza is a bad idea.
It is.
But I'm kind of hungry, so I'm gonna go for it.
Interesting.
So what you got for ripe for the picking?
Is that what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Earlier, I just wanted to bring this up. So earlier, when you were talking about not turning it into a weepy episode, and now there's no shot of that at all.
He's gonna cry for another reason.
No, well, and so
right, just whining.
I've had moments where, like, you start to think about things. When I think about Vocatio, the life, all the memories. But Bruce Caseman, who is our regent of ours, he's been on the podcast, not recently, but a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
He's the pastor of the congregation that not only Dorothy did her internship through, her first call was to his congregation, and so for 2 years I did my field work there. So Bruce Caseman has been a mentor for a very long time for me, and he's on the enrollment committee. He's the chair of the enrollment committee, and and he's a regent. And at graduation, he was saying, if we don't see each other before you move, we'll see each other again. But Brian started to get teary-eyed, and I was like, Bruce, to this moment of announcing that I'm leaving, I have not cried. So cut it out. Anyway, all right. I was going through the list, and for obvious reasons, I haven't really updated it.
Well, while you're looking, I'm going to. I'm making a huge mess here, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say this crust is actually fantastic.
The crust is actually good. The texture is nice. Yeah,
the texture of the gluten-free crust at Domino's, I would actually order this again on purpose. It's got a good chew to it.
What do you think
it's tasty?
It's nice and thin.
What is their crust?
I have no idea.
Because some is like cauliflower crust, which is also nice.
I don't know if it's cauliflower.
Or like rice flour.
I don't think it's cauliflower.
It's too crispy for that.
Yeah, it's got to be rice flour.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, actually, my husband, we got to eat a lot, and he prefers the gluten-free things that I order to like the wheat things, just different texture.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go that far.
Without the pineapple, I'm digging it.
Gluten-free pancakes are superior to regular pancakes.
I'm just erased.
Blip.
Well, I don't know if we've asked this one before with all three of us. So right for the picking or leave it on the tree, cold pizza.
Right for the picking.
Normally leave it on the tree, but
For the
I'm eating it
occasion.
now. I want to scrape all the toppings off and just eat the crust with the garlic sauce, but
There you go. Do it.
Yeah, so right for the picking for me. Well, especially like cold pizza is better than microwave pizza.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Pizza should never be microwave.
but there are ways of like reheating pizza.
Toaster oven,
on a grill, different ways of reheating it that make it extraordinary.
Yep.
But cold pizza's fine. Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna be all about pizza, I guess. So right for the picking or leave it on the tree, grilled pizza, like on a charcoal grill.
I've not had it often. I tried to do pizza on a charcoal grill one time, and it was a major flop.
Would you put it like right over the coals?
Well, it eventually like slid through the grates, and it was just it was a huge mess.
You gotta get like a stone or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
Yep.
We didn't have a stone. I would say that's right for the picking. That would, if as long as you don't burn the crust and you know what you're doing, I could imagine that being really good.
Yeah, no, it's right for me. I mean, yes, I also like stone oven pizza or wood fire pizza. That's probably like stone oven pizza is the best way to cook it. That's just true.
Yeah.
I mean, because it
Stone
gets
oven is amazing.
it gets crispy, but it keeps the crust airy and chewy.
Yeah.
It's what you want.
And it leaves a nice smoky flavor.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're staying on the food topic. So, ripe for the picking, or leave it under the tree, leave it on the tree, or fling it to the fields. McDonald's McCrispy sandwich.
That's right for the picking for me. I'm not even gonna pretend.
You've had it?
Yes, the McCrispy is banging. It is very good.
Sounds great. Wish I could eat it, but there's too much gluten.
Do you
It
like
is
it?
absolutely fling it to the field. I just had one today. It was so disgusting. It was so absent of flavor. I mean, it's trying to be a Chick-fil-A
Yeah,
sandwich,
100%
right?
trying to be
So it's got the crispy chicken and then 2 pickles,
Yeah.
which is good. The pickles though, they even messed up the pickles. The pickles were not salty enough. They didn't have enough zing, and the bun was overcooked. It was like almost charred.
Yeah, but this I'm assuming is a McDonald's attached to a gas station that you got this from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was. But McDonald's is a franchise, and they pride themselves on our food is the same everywhere. I also
It's not.
thought
That's not true for anyone.
I
though.
also thought the fries were just awful.
Yeah.
So McDonald's
Hey, Sarah.
for me is still an absolute fling it to the fields. I almost threw the sandwich out the car window. It was so bad, but I was starving.
It's,
I was just gonna say I want a podcast that is just you ranting about terrible food.
Oh,
that'd be.
it would be a long podcast.
So I like this. So I'll eat the regular one. I disagree with you.
I ate the
but
whole
like,
thing.
But you have to venture off into the deep water.
It was
Ben,
edible.
and get the spicy one.
Nah.
See?
Why would I do that to myself?
It'd make your ride home a lot more exciting.
People would like roll down their window and ask me if I was okay. Sir, you look like you're having a heart attack. You're sweating profusely.
So I'll say this because again, Dorothy and I do a lot of road trips we do with the kids. McDonald's is
Awful.
Top tier.
incredibly convenient, and also
Disgusting.
like when you get the fries and they're not right, but like when they are right, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
known, it's a fact. But we have begun to make a point to see if there's like a Chick-fil-A
Yes.
within
Exactly.
distance. But we're
And-
not
and
going to go out of our way to get to a Chick-fil-A. If McDonald's
we'll
is there,
go
we're
way
getting there.
out of our way to.
One place I will not go because this is never good on the side of the highway is Burger King.
Oh.
It's always disappointing.
Don't say mean
Selena
things about Burger King.
Selena feels that way about Burger King, but I like Burger King.
I
I
like Burger
like
King.
Burger King, but on the side of the highway, because when you're on a road trip, it's the ones that are on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
When a McDonald's is attached to a gas station, buyer beware, right? You have to know.
Come on.
It is true.
McDonald's is the same anywhere you go.
That is not the
It's
case.
Always
All
disgusting.
right. But you do have to think about these things when you're on the road trip, and so
Yeah.
I like.
and they're
But
just-
but
there
I'll
just
also
aren't as many. There aren't as many Chick-fil-A's. So
No.
if I could have stopped at a
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, I would have 100% gone to a Chick-fil-A.
in spite of all of this McDonald's slander, I love me a double quarter pounder with cheese.
Nah.
I could eat that, not every day.
You know,
Yeah.
they
But
find
like
these
once or twice
they
a
find
month.
these burgers like from McDonald's still in the back of somebody's car, and it looks
Yep.
like it's 3 years old, but
It's
it
fine.
looks like
Yeah.
the day you bought it.
Says the
I don't
guy
want to
who
put that
eats.
in my gut.
That
Says the guy who eats this cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just made from cashews probably. It's delicious.
that's the main ingredient. But what about all the plastic they grind up in it?
Nah, there's no plastic in vegan cheese.
All of the preservatives that go into McDonald's burger are going to turn me into a superhuman one day. And when I'm flying around the country,
Super
you're,
sick.
You're going to be jealous.
You know, you heard the other day that you remember this documentary Super Size Me?
Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 50 some years old.
Yeah. I'm not
He
saying
ate
that.
too much McDonald's, man.
Well,
I'm
that
telling
see,
you.
You don't eat it every
moderation, yeah,
day. It's a
exactly.
treat. Okay, so
Less than once a month, I eat McDonald's.
I wouldn't
like
call
I said-
poison a treat.
this is the most chaotic episode,
Yeah,
and it's just completely gone off the rails.
Yep.
Whose turn is it now?
yours
Good.
maybe.
Wait,
I don't know if there's.
yeah,
another.
okay. Either one. As long
Well,
as
I
it's
have
not-
one. It's
Go
food
for it.
again.
Okay.
Ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. I might have asked this already once, but McDonald's Coke. Do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's a
Just like
Coke,
the
but
fountain Coke.
yeah.
I had a.
But
I-
it's
I mean, I guess McDonald's does like
McDonald's,
have a special agreement
do?
with Coke to get it different. It is a
Yep.
little more crisper than
Oh,
other
yeah.
Coke. This is true. Again.
Yeah.
Is Diet Coke also included in this, or is Diet Coke excluded?
It's probably
It
included.
probably is, but
Yeah,
who
then it's
drinks
leave it on the
Diet
tree
Coke?
for me because I had one today and it was also awful.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
I
But
don't-
that's just Diet Coke,
I
though.
don't know what
Yeah.
McDonald's you're going to. No, they like ship it and store it and mix it differently than
Yeah.
everybody else does, so it's like way different. Yeah,
I'm sure it's very fresh.
it
and
is. It is
only
very
made
good.
with very natural ingredients.
Yep, the freshest.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought to myself, why am I doing this? Drinking a Diet Coke. I needed some caffeine. And where else? What other?
Well, you were at
kinda-
a gas station. You could have got a coffee.
Get a
Yeah.
good coffee, I guess. But I don't
Or a
drink,
Mountain
I don't
Dew.
drink coffee in the middle of the day. I
Or-
might take
Maybe you
cups in the
should
morning.
start.
That's
5-hour
it.
energy drink.
I should have had a 5-hour energy.
So many different options
Yeah.
than a Diet Coke.
Well, I didn't go into the gas station. I just did the drive-through. So
Well,
there you go.
McDonald's has coffee too.
Yeah.
I feel like if you go through a McDonald's that's attached to a gas station, they should be
sh-
willing to go.
they
get the
should
stuff
go
for
g-
you.
yeah, they should go get your-
That should be
your
part
other
of
stuff.
the thing. You know, as
I
I'm
bet they're
going-
asked all
I-
the
I-
time to do that.
I don't think there's anything on my list that hasn't been asked. To be honest with you.
I just came up with one. I don't know if you guys will even know what this is. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. So I'll say it and then I'll explain it. If you don't know what it is, I'll judge your faces to see. Ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. Marzipan.
Ew. I just leave
Oh.
it on the tree, bro.
has this really rich almond flavor.
Yeah,
we did
no,
this.
no.
We talked about marzipan because anything with almond extract is vile.
No,
Yeah, it's like
delicious.
super, super sweet.
Have you and I talked about it?
I think this was
the
something
two
that Katie brought up, or maybe I brought up almond extract or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I remember you guys talking about
love marzipan.
Ew.
I love. I mean,
Oh.
it's classic German cuisine. So I also like Pfeffernuss with the
That's not a real word.
very Pfeffernuss. Yeah, of course it is. Pfeffernuss is like a little cookie, but
I thought it was some
has-
kind of like rodent
no
that you keep
no,
in
no.
a cage.
I had almost an
You're thinking
hour.
of Pfefferhase, which is
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
I had almost an hour long like interspersed argument with our wedding cake maker because we went and met, and Dorothy's favorite cake is funfetti, so she's like, yeah, we could do that, and she's like, the almond extract. I was like, nope, no almond extract. Like either a yellow cake, or if it's white for the just a general white cake, vanilla extract.
Yep.
And then she's like, well, it's traditional. I was like, I don't care what it is. I was like, I don't like almond extract, so don't put it in my
Did
wedding
she
cake.
say it's delicious?
She tried to.
Yeah.
No.
And and like even towards the end, she was like, and you're sure you don't want the almond extract? And I'm like, I was to the point where it's like, we clearly need another wedding cake maker. This lady does not get it. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's
have
where
a
I stand on the
podcast where
almond
we just-
extract.
where we just debate food.
We could.
Maybe
easily.
we do a remote podcast.
Look at that.
that just
There you go.
here's the terrible
What are you
food I
eating?
ate.
Yeah. What do you eat? Yeah. No. Almond extract is disgusting.
What was that chicken place that you love?
Oh, Nando's.
Oh, yeah,
that
Nando's.
chicken place. You knew its name.
Nah.
It's the same thing with
Nasty.
what's like almond milk. It's
Oh, yeah.
the same thing.
It's
I
fine.
drink almond milk
Yeah.
every
It's
morning.
so-
of my
That's
life.
fine.
It's so
Every
gross.
morning of my life.
And then
fine.
so
Unsweetened.
then
Original.
Dorothy had to stray away from dairy, and she tried oat milk.
Oh, oat
I
milk is
don't-
good. Oat milk
Ew.
is
I'm
kind of creamy.
I don't love that.
I've resolved to this. If I ever become lactose intolerant, I'm just fine without milk in my life. I don't drink it enough anyway, but almond milk on my Cheerios is disgusting. And so is the
You
oat
can't.
milk.
You
It's
can.
so
you
weird.
can't even taste it. Oh well.
Don't-
Okay.
Yes,
So-
yeah, yes,
It tastes different.
I
than-
forget
than
that
milk.
most people like drown their cereal
Right.
in. I don't do that.
Oh,
Oh, so
I
you just
put-
like spritz it
just
with milk?
Yeah.
I don't eat
Yeah.
cereal anymore. I have gone to overnight oats every day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
There was
Oh.
a big sign that says cats on it.
Yeah.
Ben's
Let's
I had
talk
hoped
about that. That's
I had
a good
hoped
one.
That I could escape this podcast
No.
without hearkening back to some of the worst moments where I put my foot in my mouth and
So Dale's
offended
contribution.
Serious amounts of listeners. Thank you, Dale.
That
Yeah.
was a right for the picking.
Right
that
for the
Ben brought
pick.
up
Yeah,
one
I
time.
remember.
Yeah.
So
Oops.
Ben, right for the pick or leave it on the tree or fling it into the field. Cat.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel
Wait, Cats the musical or Cats?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes and yes.
Cats the musical absolutely fling into the field. It's
We
awful.
did just talk about that.
But-
Yeah, with the
I feel even
Max.
differently about cats now because I have spent over sabbatical. One of the things that I did on my sabbatical was I started allergy shots, and it was like sometimes twice a week so that I could knock them out. And I have had a lot of shots, and one of the shots that they give me every time I go into the allergist is just for my cat allergy, which is so bad.
Do you encounter cats that often in your day-to-day life?
You know that we actually got to the point where I was having allergy symptoms and they were kind of mysterious because they weren't in season with anything else that I was encountering, like in the middle of winter and stuff. And we did some research online that cat dander is very prevalent everywhere. In like it's probably on this couch because people who have cats, you can't get away from the cat dander. It's just kind of with you all the time. And so there are some people that I would be sneezing around. They probably have cats. I'm pretty seriously allergic to cats. So cats have caused me a fair amount of suffering. So
Yeah.
I love
Listen to the justification.
I love my dog. I love
Yeah.
my Mabel, and she has burrowed her way into our lives, and I get it how people feel about their pets. So I'm not going to talk badly about cats, but
Because he's already done it.
they have done me wrong.
So, in all honesty, so Dorothy's allergic to cats, pretty allergic to cats, to the point where when we were engaged, she found a stray and decided to keep it in spite of her allergies. And,
Didn't go well.
well, we weren't allowed to have them in our first apartment, so we had to get rid of them. We gave them to my parents. But while I don't enjoy her
Fling
suffering,
it to the folks. There you go.
Yeah.
while I don't enjoy her
That's violent.
suffering, I don't want a cat. I grew up, like, my family, like, I grew up with cats,
Yeah, we did too.
but they're not dogs.
Yep.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
I love Scruffy.
I like seeing cats on people's Zoom calls. I find that very amusing. Like the cat just like walks right in front of the camera, or
It does not
like
care
turns
about
and
anything.
lifts its tail and shows its behind right in front of the camera.
Like it knows what it's doing.
Yeah, it's like, look.
Check this out. Or even like funny cat compilations, like America's
yeah.
Funniest Home Videos with cats. That's all good stuff. But yeah, I'm leave cats in the tree.
In the tree. Leave him
Leave 'em
in
in
the
the
tree. Yeah, I don't. We're not cat people. Paul is allergic. But after working at an animal shelter, I get it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But before that, I was completely anti-cat. Just absolutely not. But I get it.
They're really cute.
Yeah.
I've nothing against them, other than all the suffering that they've caused me.
And they walk in their litter boxes. I don't. And they want to like knead your face and stuff.
I did dig up a lot of surprises in my sandbox as a kid from our neighbor's cat. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
Well-
this episode.
Yeah. Well, last ever, right for the picking for me.
Okay.
Right for the picking, leave it on the tree, stargazing.
Okay, so one of my like bucket list travel things is to go to like a dark sky sanctuary and like actually see the whole sky
I've
with
never
no.
heard of this before. What is
Yeah,
a
I
dark
think that's
sky
what it's called.
sanctuary?
Like
It's
places with like 0 to no light pollution.
yeah, where you're going will probably be.
So this
nice
isn't like
for that.
There's a
this
spot.
isn't like a built
No.
place like
No.
an observatory or something. It's a
No, places
A
that are
place
kept
where-
without light pollution
Sure.
intentionally. Yeah.
the middle of Glacier National Park. Would
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
And what the night sky looks like
Oh.
with no light pollution. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see things that you didn't know are there where you are in a city,
sure.
but you just can't see them.
Yep.
Super ripe for the picking for me. I grew up in Fort Wayne, but out in the country, and at our house, I mean, there were fields all around us. I would get home some nights, and you could see way more stars than you could ever count, and I would just sit out and watch the stars sometimes. And now I've gotten into showing my boys how to do some basic night orientation based on stars and how to find North Star and some of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love stargazing.
Cool.
Wanted to be an astronaut or a astronomer at one point.
That's where Johnny is right now.
Yeah, love it.
I've lost count of how many we've done.
No, so it's right
are
for
we-
you.
Yeah, it's right for me.
It's
But
it is for it is for me as well.
yeah.
And it's one of those things. So not long ago, Johnny and I went to like the National Park Ranger thing.
Sure.
They had something at the Arch where you
The
could
Junior Ranger
Junior
program.
Ranger program.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go. And Dorothy signed us up, so he and I went down, and it was like a 2-part thing. And the first part was if you signed up early enough, you got put into a drawing, and Johnny won, and we went and built a Galileo scope together, and that was really cool.
What is a galileoscope?
It's like the first telescope.
Huh?
So like it's still built off the original design of Galilei, of how he created it. And I think the first thing he looked upon was maybe the moon.
Okay.
So it's just he was the first person to build the modern telescope,
Sure.
and so it's just modeled after that.
Does it use mirrors?
No. So just two lenses.
Two lenses.
Yeah. So it doesn't have a mirror, right? But even in its like crude design, it's still pretty powerful, and you can see certain things through it. Well, anyway, stargazing around here is not great because we live in a city.
No, yeah, we had I really wanted to see the Northern Lights a couple weeks ago when a lot of the United States could see them.
Couldn't see them from here.
Well,
You could. People were posting pictures, but I didn't.
You
see
could see
them.
them from St. Louis.
Yeah,
but-
I did see some pictures online from folks here in St. Louis, but I didn't.
No, I have a
see
sister who lives out in Troy, and she got some good pictures, but that's way out in Troy.
Yeah.
Well, and so we're taking a road trip, and we're taking some time to get out there, and we are stopping just west of Salt Lake City, or the Salt Lake Flats, and so we're gonna stay close to that, and so we showed Johnny some pictures of what the night sky looks like there.
Nice.
And you could just Google Salt Lake Flats night view, and you can see. And so, yeah, that's going to be part of our road trip out. And so that'll be a cool experience to do together. But it's the same thing for me. Like I don't know if I've ever wanted to be an astronaut, but I've always been fascinated with all parts of creation. Hence why I studied science as a young person. But the universe is just so remarkable, and every time we think we have a grasp of a little bit of understanding about it, it shows us how much and how little we don't know about it.
Psalm 8 always makes me think of stargazing.
Exactly. And so, but just to look out, and regardless of how far away they are, that God set them there.
Yeah.
And that even as crazy and wild and inexplorable as it is, in like going out there, to be able to gaze at it is just remarkable. It's so beautiful that even far away there's beauty in this universe created by God. It's just such a strangely comforting thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That might be a good place to leave our listeners, viewers. We're gazing at the stars. We'll be signing off for our last time. It's been a lot of fun.
Before we sign off, Ben, something we like to do with our guests.
Oh, yeah.
Let's ask them, if you had one piece of advice
that's
for
good.
anybody considering church work, what would that one piece of advice be?
Now I really am the guest. Oh, man. Shoot. I always just liked to ask people questions so that I didn't have to do lots of talking. I could just
if you're wondering why we didn't ask each other about our stories, Ben and I told those stories at a previous episode. So you'll just have to go back and listen to every episode of Under the Fig Tree
episode, right?
until you find that one.
Yeah, I think I would. The advice that I would leave is that Concordia Seminary is not only shaped and formed me to be a pastor my first time around as a student, but deeply shaped, molded, formed my life to be a witness for Jesus in profound ways that I will never understand. And this is a fantastic place to come and learn the Word of Christ, and to study who God is, and to learn what it means to serve Christ's church among people who absolutely love his church. So listeners, hear loud and clear that Micah and I absolutely love this place, and you would do very well to check out Concordia Seminary.
It's good stuff.
That's it. Now what?
That's it. Mic drop. Boom.
Are you
Somebody's got to wrap up.
Are you going to sign off?
That's it. Bye. That's my sign off. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Oh,
It's terrible.
all
You sign off.
right. Thank you for listening. Not just this episode, but any other episode that you've ever listened to. If you're coming across this episode, if you're coming across this episode and you're new to the Under the Fig Tree community, don't lament. This isn't the end of the podcast, but thank you for listening as well. And as Ben said, when there's something that happens when you come to study here, you're blown away. You're completely overwhelmed. You probably have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but in the midst of all of that, you're growing closer and closer to your classmates. You're growing closer and closer to faculty members. You're growing closer to the church. You're growing closer to God's word. And before you know it, somebody's calling you to be their pastor. And then I never imagined or dreamed that I would ever be blessed to come back and work here and to be able to give anything back to this incredible place, let alone make it my home. But God has blessed me with this experience, and I'm a military brat. I've been blessed to travel. I've been blessed to live different places, and I can just say confidently there is no other place in the world like Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. And so if you're thinking about being a pastor, if you're unsure, if you're not confident in yourself, if somebody's ever mentioned it to you, if you're at any stage, fill out a request for information, reach out to the seminary. One of our incredible staff members will reach out to you, begin a conversation, help you with the discernment process, because we're the body of Christ. We're a family. We're a church. We're not called to do any part of this life alone, especially the formation and discernment process. And come and visit. If you're in high school or you know a high schooler, not this summer, but next summer, Vocatio will happen again. If you're in college or second career, there are Vocatio retreats that happen in the fall and the spring. If that doesn't work out for you, you can always come for a personalized visit. But just come and see this place because I'm very confident, especially if you've never been here before. Once you come, you'll understand what we're talking about. And of course, if church work isn't for you, but you've looked in the pew and you thought that person might be a good pastor, deaconess, teacher, DCE, and the like, make sure you tell them, because you could be that person that gives somebody a nudge to pursue it. That's my story. And so, as always, thank you for joining us under the fig tree. Take care, and Kati, I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.